It's Friday, July 24. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. As of Friday morning, the number of COVID-19 cases stand at 821. 5 new cases were recorded in the last 24 hours. Additionally, 1 more patient has been numbered among the recovered and released, bringing total recoveries to 711. 4 of the newly confirmed cases are classified as imported, and the 5th is under investigation. The cases consist of 2 females and 3 males aged 25 to 63 years. 3 are non-Jamaicans staying in St. James and St. Anne, while 2 are Jamaicans living in St. Mary and St. Elizabeth. There are now 64 active cases under observation in the island, while 36 cases have been repatriated to their countries of origin. There are 2 moderately ill patients, but none who are critically ill at this time. Some 17,869 persons of interest are quarantined at home, while 4 remain in quarantine at government facilities. Health workers in Jamaica have been confronting head-on the health and psychological risks associated with the fight against the novel coronavirus disease, COVID-19. They are the key to overcoming this pandemic, and that sentiment was emphasized by Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton when he visited St. Thomas this week.
Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton trekked to the Lissons Primary School on Thursday. There he addressed 41 workers who are being trained as community health aides or CHAs. This is part of the Health and Wellness Ministry's strategy to prep the population to live with the COVID-19 virus. Dr. Tufton urged vigilance as the pandemic fight is far from over.
COVID is not over. This parish of St. Thomas, 120,000, 1,700 persons in home quarantine, over 500 tests done, 3 positive so far, but they have recovered. You have done a good job with that. Prepared you are in terms of your public health infrastructure, your hospitals, your health centers, and we are doubling the number of community health aides by adding this 41 of you here that are being trained. St. Thomas, after we have deployed you, will be ready fully and prepared to deal with living with COVID. And I want you to see yourself as a critical part of that.
CHAs are being trained in a variety of clinical services offered at primary healthcare facilities. They will form part of the ministry's surveillance network. The training runs a gamut of services from antenatal and postnatal to immunization and identifying symptoms of non-communicable diseases. Importantly, they are also trained to identify the symptoms of COVID-19. The CHAs are to report suspected cases of the virus to the authorized health officials.
It's because of people in public health, and in particular, I'm prepared to say, at the community level, the primary level, that is where you're going to be. And I know the training is going to tell you what is primary and secondary and all that. At the level where you visit people's homes and talk to them in their yards, go into their community, go to the community-based meetings, and you educate, inform, motivate, advise them. Don't do it that way, because if you do it that way, this is what's going to happen. Do it that way. If we never had that, if we never had primary health care, if we never had persons like you, community health aides, public health nurses, public health inspectors, if we never had them, Jamaica would have had many more serious diseases and death and destruction to contend with, because there would have been nobody to give advice at the community level. And what would happen is that more people would end up in hospital.
The CHAs who will be deployed in communities throughout the parish are part of approximately 1,300 CHAs being recruited island-wide by the ministry. St. Thomas was but the latest stop for Minister Tufton as he visits teams across the country. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
The Tourism Ministry has launched its Rediscover Jamaica campaign aimed at encouraging Jamaicans to taste, see, feel and enjoy local tourism products.
Happiness is what we do in tourism, and we want to make sure that even COVID is incapable of stopping the happiness that tourism brings. So even if COVID caused a little moment of downtime in your expressions, it's a little moment of downtime, it cannot stop the happiness that you're all about.
The smiling tourism minister Edmund Bartlett was speaking at the launch of a localized campaign that could jumpstart the country's largest economic sector. As the nation's largest economic engine, tourism provides 170,000 jobs directly and 120,000 indirectly. Almost all of those people have been without a job for the past 3 months due to a COVID-19 induced shutdown of the sector.
Before the pandemic, across the world, travel and tourism accounted for 11% of the world's GDP and created more than 320 million jobs for workers serving 1.4 billion travelers annually. The Caribbean is the most tourism-dependent region on earth. And here in Jamaica, we know that tourism is integral to our survival.
Minister Bartlett says due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Jamaica has suffered the most significant economic decline it's seen in 4 decades.
Real GDP has declined by 1.7% as of March 2020, and it's projected to decline 12 to 14% for the April to June quarter.
Despite the present and expected challenges, the ministry has forged ahead with opening resorts coupled with local and internationally aligned safety protocols.
The establishment of designated resilient corridors is part of this approach. And I want to make the point that Jamaica is the first country in the world to establish a COVID resilience corridor for tourism. And several other countries have followed suit since. By opening in stages within key tourism regions, we can manage exposure amongst international visitors, tourism workers and residents, and maximize our ability to properly and effectively contact trace as is needed. Importantly, this also allows us to manage the demand on our resources. Our first resilient corridor along the northern coast from Negril to Port Antonio opened in mid-June. And last week, we opened the southern corridor from Milk River to Negril. The impact of this phased reopening has been immediate. In the first month of our border reopening, we have welcomed 40,000 visitors and resident Jamaicans with estimated earnings of some $80 million. As of July 15, thousands of tourist workers have returned to their jobs. The opening of the South Coast Resilient Corridor last week will see another 5,000 to 10,000 workers coming back to work overtime.
This week, tourist attractions were reopened, and Minister Bartlett says he's awaiting orders to allow tourists staying along the corridor to access these locations.
Now, this is not a knee-jerk reaction because of COVID, because we started the staycation years ago. We might not have moved it with the energy that we should, but this is a moment when the psychosocial impact of COVID is taking its toll, so we need a release. And the wonderful products are all there. The glories of our culture awaits us. Let's go out, rediscover Jamaica, enjoy the summer, and be safe.
If you're interested in taking advantage of the Rediscover Jamaica campaign, you can visit the Tourism Ministry's website for more information. Steps are being taken to organize a repatriation flight for 150 Jamaicans in Trinidad and Tobago, although the borders in the Twin Island Republic remain closed. Foreign Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith says in a statement, quote, "If you are one of the Jamaican nationals who have registered and have been approved on JAM COVID-19 and you have advised the Jamaican High Commission of your need to return to Jamaica, you will be placed on the flight list. If your circumstances have changed and you no longer wish to travel at this time, you should advise the High Commission." End quote. As the country continues to get a handle on the COVID-19 outbreak, measures that were imposed are now being relaxed in response. After months of being shuttered, places of entertainment have begun to reopen. But in the case of Reggae Mills Bar, that operates outside of Devon House in St. Andrew, that reopening has been marred by controversy. Melvin Pennant reports.
July 1 signaled a partial reopening of places of entertainment by the government. However, Reggae Mill remains closed after a video of a party it organized went viral. The video showed clear breaches of the COVID containment measures under the Disaster Risk Management Order. Following this, local government Minister Desmond McKenzie announced the reopening of shops at Devon House in St. Andrew, but said Reggae Mill would be closed for 2 weeks. He gave an update at a virtual town hall meeting on Thursday.
At the end of the 2 weeks, only the restaurant would have been able to operate because other activities at Reggae Mill would require a places of amusement license, and Reggae Mills have been operating without an amusement license. Well, today, it is clear that the management and the operator of Reggae Mills has no regards for the protocols that have been laid down by the government as we seek to protect lives in our response to COVID-19.
However, Minister McKenzie said the entity still remains in breach.
Since Monday, Reggae Mills have been operating happy hour on a daily basis. They are advertising using various media platforms to advertise these events. And what is disturbing, using the images of individuals to promote these activities. I want to make it clear, abundantly clear this afternoon. I have written to the Commissioner of Police advising the Commissioner of these actions, and I've asked the Commissioner to investigate and to take the necessary actions against the operator of Reggae Mills who continue to violate the protocols that have been set out.
The minister stressed the importance of measures to stem the spread of the virus.
We will not allow anyone to violate the protocols that we have agreed upon with the entertainment sector. After many weeks of discussion, we arrived at a point that was generally accepted by all players in the business. We are not in a position, ladies and gentlemen, to let down our guards in regards to the response to COVID-19.
Melvin Pennant, PBCJ News.
There's a pileup of driver's license applications causing delay at the operations of Island Traffic Authority, ITA. But the agency is hoping to clear the backlog by September. The problem began the end of March when the Ministry of Transport and Mining suspended driving examinations at the ITA depots island-wide, including testing for provisional driver's licenses, yard and road tests for a period of 14 days. The changes were seen as supporting the safety measures against the spread of COVID-19, in keeping with the Ministry of Health and Wellness's guidelines. The ITA resumed testing on June 8, but a month later, under the new appointment protocol, there had been an extremely high volume of requests, leading to a significant delay in responses. The ITA says, however, that as it continues to work on a platform to further manage the booking of appointments, it's appealing to the public for patience as the depots manage testing along with other responsibilities. For the latest movements in the financial markets, let's get the business report with Gabriel Thompson.
In Thursday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index declined by 1,932 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 72 stocks, of which 29 advanced, 31 declined, and 12 traded firm. The junior market index advanced by 43 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 1834 Investments, Access Financial Services, and AMG Packaging and Paper Company. Stocks declined for Barita Investments, Blue Power Group, and Caribbean Cream Limited. Trading firm were Siboney Group Limited, Fosrich Company, and G West Corporation Limited ordinary shares. Lasco Manufacturing Limited was the volume leader with 2.1 million units, followed by Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with 1.1 million units, and Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited US dollar with just under 1 million units. Now for the foreign exchange, the US dollar on Thursday, July 23 ended trading at $147.74. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $111.87. The pound sterling traded for $188.12, and the euro ended trading at $170.68. Oil prices edged higher on Friday, supported by a weaker dollar, though tensions between the United States and China waned. Brent crude futures gained 26 cents to $43.57 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures rose 29 cents to $41.36 a barrel. And that's it for the business report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
Updates from dancehall artists, culture, features, trends, and talents on social media. Alicia Steele covers it all in the Entertainment Recap.
This week on Entertainment Recap, festival songs, music video releases, endorsements, and many more. I'm your host, Alicia, and this is Entertainment Recap. DJ Afimicel, Poor People Governor Bounty Killer, has managed to secure an endorsement contract with none other than Digicel.
The partnership came by way of a viral moment on the Instagram Live Music Clash Versus, where the artist praised the network for its service. Since then, Digicel has changed its slogan on some social media platforms, echoing Bounty Killer's sentiment of Digicel Afimicel. He joins the Digicel team as a brand ambassador, working alongside Usain Bolt, Shelly and Fraser Price, and Kemar Haikon.
Dancehall artist Shansaya hit a low in her personal life, but in her professional life, she, girl, have a buzz. She managed to be the new ambassador for online clothing store. No, Pion one is a popular online clothing store, and it's Pretty Little Things. This week, our Honorable Brogard Prime Minister celebrated his birthday, and this is how we say happy birthday to you from PBCJ. Reggae artist Chronix released yet another music video, and it's called Cool as the Breeze. Take a look now.
it look like a science book, where a school me go teach. Rev the truck up to the mountain top, and as soon as me reach.
Thanks for watching PBCJ's Entertainment Recap, and follow us on all socials at PBC Jamaica. Thanks again to Ear Candy Collection. Ear Candy Collection, look at them for my earrings. And remember to follow them on all socials at the Ear Candy Collection. I'm your host, Alicia, and always and forever big up you.
In regional news, we get the update from Barbados as Tropical Storm Gonzalo approaches.
Tropical storm warning is now in effect for Barbados as Gonzalo moves towards the west near 14 miles per hour. At 5 a.m., Tropical Storm Gonzalo was located east-southeast of Barbados with maximum sustained winds near 60 miles per hour. Storm force winds extend outward only to 25 miles. Forecasters at the Barbados Met Services say significant convection associated with Gonzalo has been consistent during the past few hours, and re-strengthening of this feature is still possible as it continues on its westward to west-northwestward motion with an increase in forward speed throughout the weekend. On its forecast track, the center of Tropical Storm Gonzalo is expected to pass approximately 90 miles to the south of Barbados on Saturday. Met officials say there is still the possibility of Gonzalo becoming a Category 1 hurricane within the next day or two, considering the uncertainty in the intensity forecast due to its compact size. An Air Force Reserve reconnaissance aircraft is scheduled to investigate the storm later this afternoon.
No results are yet to be declared for the March 2 regional and general elections in Guyana, even after a national recount exercise. On Tuesday, the Secretary General of the powerful Organization of American States, OAS, Luis Almagro, said Guyana is being held hostage by those who want to change the results of the March 2 elections.
Guyana has remained hostage of the electoral officials who insist on altered results, just despite the fact that the CCJ, the maximum legal authority, has demanded that the report be prepared using the recount results. Faced with this very serious situation, the General Secretariat repeats its position as presented on the communique of April 15th, requesting that the electoral process conclude and that the people that have acted partially, be it for specific or party interests, be excluded, that all of those who have made obstacle to the conclusion of this party be excluded from the process. This has led to a crisis of trust in the institutions. This is a historic turning point for Guyana. Without a doubt, this will define its future. Today, the authorities need to choose between two ways forward, either to strengthen democracy or to fall in a very difficult situation. It's a moment to find great leaders, those who can leave aside their specific interest, leave aside the inter-party disputes in order to safeguard the system as a whole. This needs to end.
It's not serving the institutions, it is not serving the democracy. It is not serving President Granger.
Former Jamaican Prime Minister Bruce Golding, who led an OAS observation mission to Guyana, also spoke out.
The elections are held to determine the will of the people. And once the people's wishes are clearly stated, they must be upheld. The people of Guyana have been patient for much longer than can reasonably be expected, while they await the result of a process that was, by all accounts, well conducted on election day. They must wholeheartedly be commended for this. They deserve a peaceful transition of government based on the majority vote as reflected in the recount and in support of democracy and the rule of law. Allow me, please, finally, to make this comment. A litmus test of any democracy is the peaceful and orderly transfer of power if that is so ordained by the express will of the people. Sadly, Guyana has failed that test. The people of Guyana are not to be blamed. They expressed their will in a commendably peaceful and orderly manner on March 2nd. But the pernicious actions of a few have wreaked considerable damage to Guyana's image and reputation. Even if this debacle is soon and satisfactorily resolved, it will perhaps take a generation and significant institutional reforms for that damage to be fully repaired. The people of Guyana did not deserve this.
In the meantime, Foreign Affairs Minister in the embattled David Granger administration, Dr. Karen Cummings, had a strident retort.
Guyana is a democratic nation and intends to remain so. Further, there is no breakdown in law and order in Guyana. Guyana continues to remain a peaceful, law-abiding state. And throughout this lengthy process, which has been guided by several constitutional provisions, the people of Guyana have remained patient, calm, and peaceful. The international community should therefore also be patient and not seek to influence unduly the constitutional and legal processes which are currently ongoing in Guyana.
The Permanent Council of the OAS met on Tuesday as pressure mounts on Granger to stop putting obstacles in the way to prevent the declaration of a national vote recount, which shows his coalition, APNU and AFC, was defeated by over 20,000 votes. In sports, the Jamaica Olympic Association says an increase in salaries and wages is the reason for more than 2/3 of its costs associated with administrative expenses. The agency gave the information in a release following concerns regarding an increase in salary output at this time. This, it said in the release, is because of changes to structure by its board of directors and member associations. The JOA explained that it took on more staff to serve its member associations. We turn to cricket. West Indies assistant coach Roddy Estwick said on Wednesday that the regional team must bring its A game for the deciding third test, which starts on Friday.
We haven't won a series in England in 32 years. We have a good opportunity now. Has that been part of the discussion this week?
Of course, we're constantly reminding them that they've got a chance to change something that hasn't happened for 32 years. We've played them a few times over the last 2 or 3 years, and we've won our test matches. We obviously won in the Caribbean. We want to go one step better here in England. We really want to win that test match. We've got to be up for it. Obviously, England's going to be up for it as well because it's a final. When you look at this game, it's a final for both teams, and whoever puts in a big performance will win the game. Come Friday, there's no second guessing. It's a big test match for us. It's a big test match for the region, and we've just got to be ready. We can't have any excuses. We've got to go there and bring our A game. All 11 players that walk on that park, plus the support staff as well. We've got to be up for it. We've got to push them. We've got to make sure that we're ready. We've got to leave no stone unturned to make sure we get the result that the Caribbean deserves.
Do you think we missed a trick in that second test match, or maybe could have rested 1 or 2 players given the amount of workload in such a short space of time?
Selection is 2020 vision. If we rest Shannon Gable before the test match after getting 9 wickets and we gone on to lost that test match, you know what? People will be saying, Shannon got nine test match wickets. Why did we rest him? So you've got to give England credit. They were better than us on the day. We can't just sit and say, if we rest this body and if we rest that body. It's 2020 vision, it's hindsight. What we've got to do now is to make sure that when this test match comes around, we're ready. Whoever we put on the park has got to be ready physically and mentally for the challenge. We can't keep looking back and say we should have done this and we should have done that. Just because England have done it and it's proved successful doesn't mean that it will work for us.
We enter the ring as former heavyweight champion Mike Tyson is set to return to the boxing ring for an exhibition fight against ex-4-weight world champion Roy Jones Jr. The fight is scheduled to take place on September 12 in Los Angeles. Tyson, who is 54 years old, announced the 8-round exhibition bout against Jones, a 51-year-old fighter who briefly held the heavyweight title and has fought consistently into his 50s. In a weather report, the Met Office says at 4 a.m. the center of Tropical Storm Gonzalo was located near latitude 10 degrees north, longitude 51.8 degrees west. Gonzalo is moving toward the west near 22 kilometers per hour. A westward to west-northwestward motion with an increase in forward speed is expected through the weekend. On the forecast track, the center of Gonzalo will approach the southern Windward Islands tonight and move across these islands Saturday into the eastern Caribbean Sea Sunday. Maximum sustained winds are near 95 kilometers per hour with higher gusts. Some strengthening is forecast during the next day or two, and there is still a chance that Gonzalo could become a hurricane before reaching the Windward Islands. Weakening is expected after Gonzalo moves into the Caribbean Sea, and the cyclone is expected to dissipate by the middle of next week. Gonzalo is a small tropical cyclone. Tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 35 kilometers from the center. Tropical storm Gonzalo is not a threat to Jamaica at this time. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thank you so much for watching and do keep safe.